Welcome to The Difference Engine, the show for tech founders, investors, and innovators.
What have we got coming up today?
Well, we'll be backing our brothers and sisters in Europe. What's with all the negativity from across the pond?
And we'll be talking about our man of the moment, the amazing Hermann Hauser.
But first, we are reviewing the reports and asking, what's the social influence of AI?
I'm reviewing the situation. Can a fella be a villain all his life? All the trials and tribulation. Better settle down and get myself a wife.
Well, probably one of the widest reported pieces of research, certainly this year, maybe ever, is this MIT report about AI and saying that 85% or some say 95% of AI pilots result in failure just everywhere. There's also, interestingly, has come out at a time when another set of researchers has talked about forgetfulness and the fact that AI might be bad for our memory. Is this, as is reported in many papers, shamefully, the middle class graduate job apocalypse? What can we learn societally, and what is AI's influence on society, sir?
You know, let's face it, AI is genuinely scaring many people in developed industrialized societies. And I think more than industrialized societies, I think we're talking post-industrial societies here. You know, it has surfaced with concerns on a macroeconomic level and caused interesting debates, which have long thought to be simply the domain of politics, like the idea of a universal basic income. You know, that's actually an idea from ancient Egypt, and the philosopher Thomas More, a man for all seasons, in the UK in about the 16th century.
So we've been on this for like half a millennium.
Yeah, but you know, is this all is this sensible to be so worried about it? And what are the latest thoughts on how we cope with this tech, which will be game changing? This will be as game changing as the application of machines to production. We're looking at the application of a machine to the production of intellectual property here.
Right. And just to go back to our sources and deconstruct a little bit, this MIT report, for me, is perhaps the most hyped piece of software law since Mark Andreessen penned the Software is Eating the World blog. And I had to look this up. That's actually a quarter of a century ago. He did that in 2011. Now, that was his opinion. That has been cited now, widely cited, as a truism. Software is eating the world. I was with my accountant yesterday. He was bemoaning the fact that he can't go and get a coffee without people asking for, as he signed up to the app.
Or they want feedback, which they then ignore.
They want your data. Now, we call both this MIT report talking about all the AI pilots failing and Mark Andreessen's Software is Eating the World, we call those missives, open letters, and in the category world, those are points of view. So, sure, Andreessen is shooting from the hip with his personal beliefs when he wrote that. The MIT report's somewhat different. It's based on a survey, albeit small, but it's been taken to be this massive point of view. And I haven't seen anything that's been as widely cited.
But if they are just POVs, you know, points of view, and you know, fine, they're points of view. The issue is that points of view can become very powerful.
For sure.
As the integration of Andreessen's, you know, comments into popular culture prove. And points of view do define categories. So they're certainly worth thinking about. So we have to ask ourselves, you know, what is the correct response to how AI is affecting not just the tech world, which we're all massively aware, of course, in tech, but society in general.
Yeah, and there's so much to untangle. And the issue with AI, as I see it, is it's all happening in real time. You know, there's a multi-billion-dollar deal this week. There's another one next week. People are buying chips from each other. People are taking stakes in telco companies like Nokia. It's really running very fast. Therefore, when another once robust publication, not going to talk to its journalistic credentials at the moment, but
these days,
yeah, Fortune. So Fortune talked about another report which says AI is ruining our attention spans.
Sorry, Paul. What did you just say?
Exactly. And just like humans, it seems that when humans get older, they suffer what could be regarded as brain rot. But this study claims that AI rots the brain in real time, producing low quality text. And according to the study, the effects of this brain rot, forgetfulness that we're joking about here, lingers.
But there's two gems, I think, in this report, aren't there?
Yeah.
When we looked at it, that just jumped out at us. It says, I quote, "The gap implies that the brain rot effect has been deeply internalized, and the existing instruction tuning cannot fit the issue. Stronger mitigation methods are demanded in the future," wrote the researchers. And there's another lovely one here, which is, "The gap implies that the brain rot effect has been deeply internalized." Yeah, right. "And the existing structure tuning cannot fix the issue. Stronger mitigation." Oh my God, I've got brain rot.
Exactly. You just said it twice.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it's a peer-reviewed article, right? We should be fair. But with AI changing so quickly, there's such a dearth of clarity of what's actually going on. And the issue with such strong POVs, when you have a lack of people having a strong point of view, I don't think we like a strong point of view, but lots of people do, is you become a bit of a bystander. And when that happens, what kicks in is the anchoring effect, as we know from Thinking Fast and Slow by Mr. Kahneman.
Is that also something to do with recency? Something I've heard of, recency fallacy?
Yeah. So, the recency fallacy basically is that if you've heard something recently, and I can think of one particular national leader where this might apply to, the thing that you heard the most recently is the thing you believe the strongest. So you obviously need to take in a lot of inputs, which I'm sure this individual does. But the recency fallacy is that the thing you've heard the latest, and it could be the MIT report, it might be the Fortune article, is what you believe. The anchoring bias, which works with this, is that the first time you read the POV, the first time you hear about the effects of AI rotting your brain, the first time you hear that software is eating the world, that's where you stay and you don't move on from there.
But what is really interesting is that this report was mentioned many times on the stage at the recent Sifted Summit in London, and also at Boardwave's recent excellent event, also in London. Frankly, it's everywhere. It's been used by naysayers to imply AI is a giant waste of money, a distraction, used by those with second-generation AI tools and services to say, you don't get it yet, so let us sell you some more of our stuff.
There's certainly a lot of AI washing going on. Now, the MIT report is the more interesting, I feel, of these two reports. Even though it's potentially less well researched, it's certainly been influential, as you say, Boardwave and Sifted Summit. It's embarrassing how many times it's mentioned. And it states, despite the rush to integrate powerful new models, about 5% of AI pilot programs achieve rapid revenue acceleration. The vast majority stall, delivering little or no measurable impact on profit and loss. This research is based on 150 interviews with leaders and a survey of 350 employees, and analysis of 300 public AI deployments. So you could argue it paints a pretty clear divide between success and failure.
Again, got to know our history here. There is a counter-argument on this. This is a very new technology being deployed at an incredibly rapid rate, and throwing sticky stuff at a wall comes to mind here. Is 5% such a tragic success rate? I'm sure the early developers of steam boilers would have been very happy if in the first couple of years of experimentation they were actually getting 5% of their boilers which didn't explode. But what that did do was actually encourage more experimentation. So the question we ask here, is this data at this stage so damning that it's going to encourage less experimentation?
Yeah, so we're basically saying 5% ain't that bad, guys. It's pretty good. Concluding where we're going and how society is going to deal with AI, I think it's super early, right? So we don't know what we don't know. And despite all of the crazy market hype about valuations, the effects on jobs, etc., there has to be more of a focus on how society copes with this information and whether we need a universal basic income, etc. And it also has to cope with the amount of slop, AI slop that's coming out there. And probably the most obvious example is AI fakes. But there's a lot of slop. And we need to, as a society, stop being observers here and get involved. And I think we should have a lot more of these points of view. There's less reason to fear AI than most people think. And we have to accept that AI changes the way we work. It may change the way we think, as per the Fortune article. And ultimately, it's going to change the way that we live our lives. So it's truly a society-level experiment, but it's also our experiment.
Yeah, so if we continue to use AI, we will lose essential traits. Once you needed to be as strong as an ox to be a farmer or a truck driver, and that's just no longer the case because of technological development and automation. Before we all started to use calculators in the 70s, mental arithmetic mattered in exams. Now you are freed to do high level mathematics with just the basic calculations being taken place by a silicon chip at your hand and on the desk. What do we think of this? I think, let's make sure we use AI to accentuate human intelligence, not replace it.
Are you still developing separate marketing plans for each of your different channels to market? Can you really sanction messages reaching the same customers from unconnected targets? Listen, it's now the AI age. Things need to change. Positive is a different sort of AI-powered agency. From our very beginning, we've integrated marketing communications from PR to events, social to paid ads. Working smarter means working integrated. Let us show you what a truly joined-up strategy could do for your tech business. Contact Positive today with an email to hello@positivemarketing.com.
So, Paul, I hear you had an encounter with a hero of mine. Foreign, blonde, eloquent.
Who is she?
Has made a lot of money for themselves and others.
Who is that?
More fast and swift, though.
Ah, not Taylor Swift, Hermann Hauser. Well, everyone in tech is searching for the prophecy, that singular glimpse into the future. And there are plenty of noisy VCs out there looking at you, Mr. Stebbings. But I actually had the pleasure of listening to the real deal. Honestly, if anybody has earned the right to make predictions, and any European has earned the right to make predictions, it's Mr. Hermann Hauser. Herr Hauser.
I completely agree. I mean, Austrian by birth, but for me, the pivotal person in UK tech over the last 40 plus years. This guy doesn't just talk about the future. He builds it, from founding Acorn with Chris Curry to chairing ARM, which, let's face it, is inside nearly every smartphone, to now backing over 60 deep tech startups with his Amadeus Capital. His track record is immense.
Yeah, you could say I was a little bit gobsmacked and a little bit freaked out.
Starstruck even?
Starstruck even. I actually bumped into him briefly at the Sifted Summit in London. Total tech legend. But very cool, right? No fan mobs or screaming groupies, thank God. His legacy is going to outlast 100 times the flashier pop stars of this world.
Yeah, and that's what makes him different. While some people are out there chasing hype and headlines, Hermann's laying the actual foundations. He's like the anti-pop star of tech. And I mean that as a compliment.
Yeah, and he's still pushing the edge, right? He was on stage talking about a $20 billion fund he's involved with. He's deeply involved in quantum. I think he's made 6 or 7 investments already there. He looks for deep tech, looks for it to be super, super hard. That's not just ambition and hype. That's putting your money where your mouth is. That's betting on the future of Europe leading the next wave of AI and quantum innovation.
Yeah, and what struck me is just how grounded his argument was or is. It's about better returns from European VC than US VC.
That's not widely known. That's counterintuitive, but it's bang on, right?
Yeah, sure. And also equivalent IP being produced. But the problem is there's just a fraction of the capital chasing it. It's really classic investor logic. High potential, underinvested market. Fill your boots.
Yeah, and as he said, I think this is a direct quote, we do not have a startup problem. We have a scale-up problem. And whilst that can be fixed, he's also got a warning for the individual regions. So for the UK specifically, he's talking about Munich catching up fast. It's minted over 100 startups last year. And Germany is not waiting around for everyone else to get their act together.
Yeah, it certainly isn't. And they've got good reason to need a tech boom in Germany, given how the current economy appears to be stalling, as it is so over-leveraged on the auto industry. But I mean, if you go back to Hermann, he's also very much into quantum.
He's the most lucid person I've heard talk about quantum.
Yeah, it just makes sense. But he's backed 7 startups already in that space. He had a really, really interesting point about 100 qubits being the tipping point.
Yeah, that's the magic number, right? Apparently, who knew?
It's it's not sci-fi anymore. We're talking 5 to 10 years to massive disruption across cybersecurity, finance, AI, everything you can frankly possibly think of.
Right. Yeah, and because with great thinkers like that, they join the dots for you. So he's joining the dots between, as you say, cybersecurity, finance, and AI. And what struck me was the way that he joined the dots on quantum, because he said that quantum will turbocharge AI. That's not a soundbite. That's the roadmap in his head that we're charging towards.
Yeah, and it's not just some spotty obsession with tech. He also just explained the structure of the new fund, where he's mixing institutional with industry money. It's
clever.
Just smart.
Yeah, it's really clever.
To me, it just reflects how the market's finally waking up to deep tech after nearly 3 decades of him being out there, doing it largely alone, it strikes me.
And he made another amazing point, which was if they just chucked 20 billion euro at deep tech, there'd be a bunch of people who'd soak it up, probably fail, and that would be the 20 billion spaffed. But they're only going to cornerstone the investment, so they will just put in 1/5, and they'll want 4/5 of the money to come from private enterprise. So skin in the game, real commercial VCs, and the smarts that he brings and his team brings.
Well, that's how what happens is what he sort of joked about, which is, after 27 years, the market's finally coming around to us. But I did sense he's still frustrated. The scale-up problem in Europe is real. US startups get 70 times more seed funding. We're watching our IP walk overseas, and with it, the economic upside.
Yeah, not just our IP, our founders, right? We talked about Revolut. And he compares what we do in deep tech to China's strategy, the Belt and Road Initiative. So basically, they'll go into a country that needs investment, needs some money, and they'll swap it. But of course, once they're in, you are a vassal state for their tech, and you are just another market. It's a whole different way of going about things, but it's a strategy.
Yeah, no hesitation there, isn't it? No gap between innovation and investment. And Hermann's trying to fix that. And I love his investment framework. Simple, but really sharp. Market, people, then tech.
Yeah, and what was shocking to me, and I think actually to his interviewer, was normally the order in which you put those 3 things is market, then tech, then people. And what he did was he said, first of all, it's the market, then it's the people that are going to excel. And he looks for one superstar, he says, and builds the rest of the team around it. And then finally the tech. Now, you might think him being a deep tech guy, he would start with the tech. That's the last thing he considers. And he justifies that because he says an A team with a C tech idea beats an A tech idea every time.
And apparently we'll get even more insight in his upcoming book.
Yeah. So he's 8 chapters in of 12. Hurry up, Hermann, get that out. I'm guessing it's going to be required reading for any serious investor in Europe and any category leader for sure.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. And good to hear he ended his talk on a high note. Quantum prizes going to European scientists and the EIC making real moves.
Yeah, exactly. That's where he was representing the European innovation side of things. And the 2 Nobel Prizes recently, one went to an Austrian, which of course he's very proud of. Another one partially went to a Brit. So we have got the smarts. There's no doubt about it. Just need to scale up.
Yeah, so I mean, Hermann is showing that European tech can absolutely take on the world, not just with ideas, but with real, deep, scalable innovation. It's not just about shaking off the hype. It's about doubling down on what actually matters.
Yeah, and apologies to all the Swifties out there. As far as we're concerned, deep tech is still deeply cool.
Here's Captain Hindsight.
Right, welcome back to Captain Hindsight, where we talk about the tech that's shaping the future and potentially breaking it based on the evidence of the past, the history of the tech business.
Yeah, so today we're asking the question I think a lot of people are actually thinking, but most are not saying out loud, are we already at peak ChatGPT? Or should we call it ShatGPT for reasons that will become apparent?
Well, I think you're just pronouncing the French word for cat there, so that's fine. Let's call it what it is. ChatGPT, your taxi driver, your granny, everybody agrees it's dominating the LLM space. It's almost a generic. It's become the category leader. It's the default AI interface for millions of people. One of the fastest growing, if not the fastest growing software product ever. And OpenAI keeps doing what a leader should. It keeps huge rounds, hardware deals, innovation. Who knows what next?
And it seems, a massive program of acquisition and alliances. And I think the latest one, which is really interesting, is around agentic commerce protocol, right? So that's an instant checkout inside ChatGPT where it acts as a shopping agent. You say, find me something or other, and boom, it shows you product results and you buy without leaving the app.
I can't help feeling that this is just all about convenience. I also can't help feeling that Amazon, who has a similar sort of agentic offering called Rufus, seems to have missed the point here. You can see exactly where this is headed. Relevance-based rankings that are very, very appropriate to the person doing the prompting, which allegedly gives you answers based on what the LLM discovers. We know that there's bias, and you can own that. But what's going to happen is brands, specifically consumer brands, are going to start competing for visibility, and just like that, potentially, ChatGPT becomes the new Google. Potentially the new Amazon.
Yeah, no, it's a classic platform arc. I mentioned this before. American guy called Cory Doctorow actually coined the perfect general term for this phenomenon: enshittification. Something scatological we've mentioned before. As I said, in this case, though, because we understand the need for differentiation, we prefer to call it category crapification.
Well, let's go down that dark and dingy alleyway. What happens here is, first, you get a product that's fabulous for users. Everybody loves it, like Amazon, like ChatGPT. And often these are built out, these great products, at the expense of any profit. And that's how the platform scales. Until a certain point, it pivots. And this is where the crapification comes in. Because it pivots and it becomes something that's monetizable. Eventually, it's just great for shareholders, not for the people that originally loved the product. Everyone else,
and for brands,
everyone else is left navigating a cluttered, compromised, and crappy experience. That's the story of Skype with Microsoft. That's the story of Google's search engine.
Yeah, and that's the worry here. ChatGPT starts out as this magical, frictionless, really useful tool and slowly morphs into a horrible marketplace where its only reason to exist is to buy and sell attention.
And there's a track record. Google's buying in of the AdWords product took a couple of years. Facebook seemed magical and free for a long time, and now plastered with ads. And now, please subscribe if you want to keep your Instagram.
So if you think about it, OpenAI launched ChatGPT publicly in late 2022. But guess what? Hot on the heels of the development of the agentic commerce protocol, PayPal has just announced their partnership with OpenAI, integrating its digital wallet directly into the LLM. So, starting next year, users will be able to shop and pay seamlessly within ChatGPT using Buy with PayPal. Customers can browse, discover, and purchase items securely, apparently, while verified PayPal merchants can list and sell products on the AI platform. Right? Great. But the logic goes, ChatGPT becomes a personal AI shopping assistant that can instantly check out. Consumers trust PayPal. PayPal handles all back-end payment, validation, and the merchant routing. Routing for American listeners. As CEO Alex Chris put it in the announcement, it's a whole new paradigm for shopping. Right, so how many seconds before the brand ads appear now? So ChatGPT looks like it's setting a new record for TTCC. You've heard that first here. TTCC. It is time to category crapification. The problem, it can't do anything else.
Yeah, even ChatGPT's got to address the crazy valuation it has. All those people paying for its shares are expecting their money to be returned at some point. Last year's cash burn was a mere $8 billion, is set to go up. And all that does is put off the day when the shareholders can get their money back and make them more anxious that they do get their money back.
Mm-hmm. Of course, let's not forget that until very recently, OpenAI was structured as a for-profit entity controlled by a non-profit board. But only a few weeks ago, it restructured into a public benefit corporation, and that is, of course, known as OpenAI Group PBC. Now, why would you do that? Let's not be cynical, but a move like that, of course, paves the way for a potential IPO in the future.
So what we're talking about here isn't crapification, really. It's category. It's not about ads or cluttered UI. It's about what happens when a category leader needs or wants to shift from delivering value to the extraction phase, extracting it. There's a cycle, category innovation, category domination, category monetization, and sadly, category crapification.
Absolutely right. But domination should not mean degradation. You can lead a market without eroding the product that got you there.
The problem is the incentive structures, as it currently is in some of these companies, are in the other direction. If users don't leave, and let's be honest, most will not leave, overcoming the inertia that limits change and stops innovation is just too hard. The temptation is to extract the profits and just keep growing the bottom line. Retail banks have been doing this for years.
And the reality, because I think what you've just said is the future, unless there is pressure from users, regulators, or maybe from inside the industry itself, a cycle of the rawest form and most quickly enacted form of capitalism ensues. Now, it's the difference between value creation, the process of developing products or services that provide benefits and meet customer needs, very academic, but true, and value capture, the process of converting that created value into profit for a company. And that's where all the wheels can actually fly off. The idea is that businesses must do both to succeed. Create compelling offerings that attract the customers and then implement strategies to convert that customer value into revenue through pricing and market position. But in the age we have entered, that of tech totalitarianism, enabled by the pervasion of the internet and the speed of innovation possible in weightless industries, the initial offerings are not what the customers originally signed up to. And the ultimate offerings are not what the customers originally signed up to. And they have to get used to being force-fed a diet of crapified, as we used to call it in enterprise software, bloatware. And this is because there's a monopoly of user attention and wallet share is sought for at warp speed.
So ChatGPT is doing exactly this, right? It's becoming much more than a chatbot, very useful piece of software. It's positioning itself somehow and wants to be seen in a category of the next interface layer for commerce, for productivity, for search, for education.
Yeah, so guess what? This makes this moment critical, because if this turns into another ad-saturated, engagement-maximizing platform, we've learned nothing from the last 20 years of the internet and its history. It's probably worthwhile at this stage just going into some of that history so that people really understand how crapification works.
Let's go to the end game of category crapification. So I'll take an example. The UK TV sports, they've maxed the amount of squeeze they can give with the market. And Sky built, and some would say built the Premier League, but built a paid-for sports channel within a licensed regulated market. And now is seeking to extract with more and more layers of service.
I mean, they're a monopoly essentially now, because the competition, BT, exited the market, and now their replacement, TNT, has also bailed out. And I think, according to our contacts, no phone is currently ringing off the hook for the vacant competitor slot. It's so tightly has Sky sealed it up.
Also, because of the layers and various layers of subscription you can get, the phones are literally ringing off the hook with their sales guys trying to persuade us to go and pay for an enshittified or crapified product. And if you look at the catch-up TV channels now, Prime in the UK, Paramount and Sky box sets, when you access them via Now, suddenly they've got adverts in them. You want to get rid of the adverts? Pay us the money. They attracted an audience, they monetized it, and now they're crapifying it.
Let's be clear about this from a fiscal point of view. These are price gouging monopolies. Microsoft with Skype did it in the past. See how that actually ended up. CA did it with anything they acquired, anything they touched. Even Broadcom with VMware users totally up in arms.
Yeah, they don't care. It's like, we got you, you pay up. And these are examples of rentiers, which is a natural sort of end game for crapification, because you basically give up on caring about innovation, you give up on caring about customer service, you just extract the rent rather than moving on and continuing to innovate.
Yeah, and it is a powerful strategy for big tech. And just, to be a bit European for a moment, it can hurt the most in terms of instances like Apple buying, UK-based Shazam, to Google taking over the entire team based in the UK at DeepMind.
I mean, it's worst of all for a up-and-coming, some would say, region like Europe, where we're trying to build innovation and we're being beaten down by big tech's crapification.
Indeed. But let's be positive for a moment. All is not lost. It's not lost. No, it isn't. Let's have a look at some counterexamples. Look at Spotify, who have stuck to their guns in music distribution, and up until now, Strava has been focused on personal health. And those amazing people at UiPath are still RPAing out of Romania. Hold out and build. Stay better, people.
Please do. We can't afford to repeat this cycle. We don't need another Google, Meta, etc., crapifying our lives. We need a new model for tech leadership. One where owning the category comes with some sort of responsibility to protect the user, not just shareholder value. I'm sounding like I'm pro-regulation, but you get what I mean.
Yeah. So, go back to our original thing which we started this section on, which is, are we at peak chat GTP? Chat GPT as we know it, Jim. Maybe, or maybe, or maybe. And I have to believe this is going to be is what's going to happen. It's just at the start of the platform's next evolution. But let's hope it's not the beginning of the end for the user experience.
Yeah, we don't want that attention-sucking, wallet-emptying, crapification black hole.
Yeah, so I think if you've seen any other signs of this shift already, tag us, send us some examples. Let's make this conversation louder.
Yeah, until then, that's Captain Hindsight signing off. Well, I don't know about you, Jonathan, but I am getting heartily sick to death of people bashing Europe. Hating on Europe is rife, and it's got to stop. Since we started this podcast, it's been all about leveling the playing field between ourselves and the hegemony of the Silicon Valley creators, and trying to even it up a little bit for the funders and founders here in Europe. Why are there so many American tech figures all of a sudden hating on us?
Well, I think, before we start looking like we're going off on a huge rant here, I just would well, we might be, but here's the qualification. We are proud advocates, not critics of tech entrepreneurship and innovation, and therefore, of course, wealth creation. And also, we've been working with American firms for probably about 80 years between us, and frankly, we're very grateful for that experience. So we try to take the best of American exceptionalism and apply that thinking to our colleagues, clients, mentees, and even families, if they can be bothered to listen. Now, for those people who are not familiar with the term American exceptionalism, it is the belief that the United States is unique and qualitatively different from other countries due to its origins, political institutions, and historical development. That's not unreasonable, you might think. I mean, it's a concept that's deeply rooted in part of American political culture, with its meaning evolving over time to encompass various ideas from perhaps a belief in a special destiny and moral superiority to a unique role in global leadership. It can be seen as a belief in a special mission to spread its democratic values, a source of national pride, or a framework used to justify foreign policy and national identity. So there you have it. In a nutshell, that is American exceptionalism, and we don't mind it.
Don't mind it at all. We do object strongly to people like the first US investor in and founder of LinkedIn, part of the PayPal mafia, Reid Hoffman. And you may recall, listeners, a while back, we attended the COGEX, the rather poorly attended COGEX event in London. This was a talking shop, and this man had the audacity to say in front of a live audience in London, such as it was, that France was a better place to set up than London. Like he's trying to start some sort of fight here. I think, physician, heal yourself. Now it looks like all this negativity is picking up at speed.
I think there was something here from March in this year on what we think is the closest pod to the difference engine.
They're trying.
Well, other pods are available. And I quote, "I think Europe's in a very, very bad place. It's very dysfunctional. I do not see European civilization going the right way the next 20 or 30 years."
Yeah, thanks very much, all in. Thank you, Chamath. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Sachs and Freiberg. That was from March of this year. And this from April. I quote, "Europe is roughly uninvestable." Thank you, guys. That's lovely, that is. I hope nobody is thinking about investing in any of your products. And you might want to excuse these as guest episodes with people like Andrew Ross Sorkin and Joe Lonsdale. Fair enough. So how about the hosts themselves, right? These are the guys who made, technical term, shitloads of money on PayPal, Uber, Meta, and others. Are they any better? No, they might be worse. So here is a fellow PayPal Mafia member, David Sachs, talking about Donald Trump's AI speech in Feb. You may recall David Sachs is the AI guru, the crypto guru for Mr. Trump. Here he says, he's talking about our Digital Services Act, and he says, "The Digital Service Act has acted like a speed trap for American companies. It's American companies who've been over-regulated and fined by these European regulations because the truth of the matter is that it's American technology companies that are winning the race. It's not fair, it's not smart policy, and it's not going to help us collectively win this AI race."
Now does that sound like sort of fair enough or we're crying because big tech does not like to play by the European rules, or some sort of vain excuse to justify exceptionalism in the face of China's now strong AI play, perhaps?
Yeah, and it goes on. Clips from former Facebook exec and SPAC originator. SPACs, as you know, are these questionable investment devices. Chamath Palamathapaya, Jason Calacanis, and others are bashing our very own Harry Stebbings' Project Europe as, I quote, "just a Y Combinator knockoff. Not impressed." Ooh, some of us had enough, haven't we?
Yeah, well, isn't there something about your former colleague, Richard Milne? Did he say something recently?
Yeah, we're fighting back. So Richard works with the Financial Times, an august European title. I'm not sure Wall Street Journal quite matches it for reach. He's talking about the fact that Sweden's got a bunch. You can look at Lovable, you can look at Spotify, a bunch of truly world-class competitors that are going to maybe bash a little bit of the American exceptionalism. I think it's just time to stop, really.
Yeah, I mean, there is a real difference between regional and local bashing. And you have to ask yourself, well, should we care? And the answer is yes, we should care. That the world is unstable and we need this alliance. But also, remember, listeners, the US is exceptional, undoubtedly. And as we said, we're very grateful for that. But it's not immune. I mean, we go on quite a lot on this pod about know your history. Well, look at the history of the auto industry. Not a lot to shout about that in the States. The exceptionalism of completely ignoring the developments that were taking place in the rest of the world under the belief that Americans would want oversized, crude vehicles when actually American consumers were buying, Toyota Camrys and Honda Accords. And there are some currently unintended, but pretty predictable consequences of tariffs coming up.
Right. So I really think people need to stop talking us down from our cousins the far side of the pond. There's a much bigger game that we're playing here, and it just isn't helpful. I just don't understand why they're doing it. Let's all just be friends.
Thank you for listening. If you want to learn more about category design, head to becategorical.com. If you need help designing and dominating your category, then get in touch. Contact details are in the show notes.